Excalibur, the divine kingmaker. In a world where thrones were taken by blood, one sword promised the right to rule by destiny. Excalibur, not merely forged, but bestowed. Some legends say it rose from a stone, others from a lake, carried by a hand wrapped in silk and light. Whatever the truth, the blade chose Arthur, not the other way around. Historians trace Excalibur's story to early Welsh myths of Caladforge, a weapon of light and sovereignty. Over centuries, poets reshaped it into a symbol of divine kingship, a reminder that true power must be earned, not inherited. But the sword's true secret wasn't its edge. It was its scabbard. Said to prevent any wound from bleeding, it made Arthur nearly immortal. That protection, once lost, marked the beginning of his fall. Excalibur gave him a kingdom, and took it away. Kusanagi no Tsurugi, the serpent's gift. Long before knights and kings, a storm god fought a monster with 8 heads. When the creature fell, its blood split the earth, and from its tail, a sword emerged. That blade was Kusanagi no Tsurugi, the grass-cutting sword, a treasure that shaped Japan's earliest myths. Passed down through emperors, Kusanagi became one of Japan's 3 imperial regalia. A divine symbol of authority, legends tell that it once saved its wielder's life when trapped in a burning field. By cutting through the grass and turning the flames, the sword gave both its name and its legend. More than a weapon, Kusanagi was proof of divine favor, a reminder that even chaos, when conquered, can become the source of order. Mjolnir, the hammer of thunder. When thunder shook the skies, ancient Norsemen didn't hear storms, they heard a hammer striking the heavens. Mjolnir, the weapon of Thor, was more than a tool of destruction. It was protection, a sacred force that blessed weddings, consecrated births, and crushed giants in equal measure. Forged by the dwarven brothers Brokkr and Sindri, the hammer was said to be so powerful it could level mountains, yet return faithfully to its master's hand. Its short handle, the result of a forge mishap, never lessened its might. Instead, it became its mark of perfection through imperfection. To the Vikings, Mjolnir wasn't myth, it was faith cast in metal, a promise that no matter how fierce the storm, strength and honor would always strike back. Durandal, the unbreakable blade of faith. In the age of empires and crusades, legend said one sword carried the strength of angels. Its name was Durandal, the unbreakable blade of Roland, the paladin of Charlemagne. Forged for purity and righteousness, it was said to contain relics within its hilt, a tooth of St. Peter, a strand of Mary's hair, and the blood of a martyr. In the epic Song of Roland, the hero faces his final battle against impossible odds. Surrounded, dying, he tries to destroy his sword so it won't fall into enemy hands, but Durandal refuses to break. Even as Roland falls, the blade endures, unyielding as faith itself. For centuries, it symbolized devotion over power, proof that the truest strength is not in steel, but in conviction. Gungnir, Odin's perfect spear. No weapon in Norse myth carried precision like Gungnir, the spear of Odin. Forged by the dwarves, masters of divine craftsmanship, it was said to strike any target, no matter the distance or defense. Once thrown, it never missed its mark, nor faltered in flight. Odin used Gungnir not merely as a weapon of war, but as a symbol of cosmic order. Before battles, he would cast it over enemy lines, dedicating the fight to the gods, a ritual that bound fate itself to his will. To wield Gungnir was to command destiny. More than a spear, it represented divine certainty, the idea that every strike, every choice, was already written in the threads of fate. Sherur, the weapon that spoke. Long before steel and empire, the gods of Mesopotamia ruled through word and will. Among them, the warrior god Ninurta carried a weapon unlike any other, a mace that could think, speak, and act on its own. Its name was Sharur, meaning smasher of thousands. Sharur wasn't just a tool of battle, it was a voice of strategy and reason. Legends tell that it could fly vast distances, relay messages, and offer counsel in war. When Ninurta faced the demon Asag, it was Sharur's wisdom, not just its might, that led him to victory. In a world where power often silenced knowledge, Sherur was the opposite. Proof that true strength speaks with both wisdom and force. The green dragon crescent blade, the general's honor. Not all legendary weapons belonged to gods. Some were born from mortal hands, carried by men whose names became eternal. In the East, few warriors earned more reverence than Guan Yu, the Chinese general whose blade, the green dragon crescent blade, became a symbol of loyalty and justice. Said to weigh over 80 pounds, the weapon's sweeping edge gleamed like jade under the sun. Guan Yu's precision and strength turned it into an extension of his spirit, striking with both elegance and mercy. Chronicles tell that he named it Cold Dragon for the way it cut through chaos with calm resolve. Centuries Centuries later, his image became divine, the god of war, and his weapon, a sacred relic of discipline, honor, and unwavering virtue, fronting and negling the tragic swords of Beowulf. In the northern tales of Old England, one hero stood above the rest, Beowulf, the slayer of monsters. Yet even heroes fall, and even the greatest weapons can fail. Beowulf carried 2 blades through his journey, Runting and Negling, each with its own fate sealed in legend. Fronting was a gift, a blade said to never fail in battle. But when Beowulf faced the monster, Grendel's mother, it struck uselessly against her hide. Later, he wielded Negling, an ancient sword that shattered in his final fight against the dragon. Neither blade saved him, but both defined his story. Through their failure, they became symbols of mortality, proof that even heroes meet limits, and even legends break under the weight of destiny. Tyrfing, the cursed sword of blood. Some weapons were forged not for glory, but for vengeance. In the ancient Norse sagas, none was feared more than Tyrfing, the blade that demanded blood. Crafted by dwarves under duress, it gleamed brighter than any metal, cut through iron like cloth, and carried a curse that could never be undone. The smiths swore that each time Tyrfing was drawn, it would kill, whether foe, friend, or kin. And when it returned to its sheath, it would always leave death behind. Its owners fought bravely, but one by one, they fell victim to the blade's promise. No mortal could wield it without losing everything. Tyrfing stood as a warning that even the finest craftsmanship, when born of cruelty, can only create beauty soaked in ruin. Masamune versus Muramasa, the forge masters of light and darkness. In Japan's age of steel and spirit, 2 masters forged blades that reflected the souls of their makers. Masamune, serene and disciplined, forged swords said to bring peace to their wielders. Muramasa, fierce and unrestrained, created weapons that craved blood. Together they became the embodiment of balance, purity, and chaos, restraint and rage. Legends tell that when their blades were placed in a river, Muramasa's sword sliced at every leaf that drifted by, while Masamune's allowed them to pass untouched, a test of intent over instinct. Muramasa's creations were later branded cursed, blamed for madness and misfortune, while Masamune's became symbols of harmony and virtue. In truth, both forged perfection, but where one sought peace, the other pursued power, and that difference defined the soul of every sword since. Trishula, the trident of balance. In the vast pantheon of Hindu mythology, creation and destruction are not opposites, they are partners. The weapon that unites them both is the Trishula, the trident of Shiva. Each of its 3 points represents the cosmic cycle of existence: creation, preservation, and dissolution. To hold it is to command balance itself. With a single motion, Shiva was said to destroy illusion and ignorance, clearing the way for truth. Unlike weapons of conquest, the Trishula symbolizes control, not over others, but over the self. It is the stillness between heartbeat and breath, where power meets peace. The trident reminds the faithful that even destruction, when guided by wisdom, becomes an act of renewal. Zulfikar, the blade of divine justice. In the deserts of early Islam, a single sword came to symbolize courage, wisdom, and divine favor. Zulfikar, gifted by the Prophet Muhammad to his cousin and champion, Ali ibn Abi Talib, it was said to possess a split blade, one that could cut through falsehood and truth alike. Ali's valor with Zulfikar became legend. In every story, he fights not for conquest, but for justice, striking down oppression with precision and restraint. Warriors across centuries carried replicas of its shape, believing its form held divine protection and clarity of purpose. The phrase engraved into its legend still endures: no sword can compare to Zulfikar, and no hero can compare to Ali. A weapon not of destruction, but of righteousness, where faith and the zeal became one.